here's Brody Brazil.
You know, it's amazing how you can look at the Oakland Coliseum in two totally different lights. First off, the site and the location itself. 120 acres right off 880, so centralized it's got its own BART station. It's a very valuable piece of land in the city of Oakland and obviously the greater Bay Area. But most people view the Coliseum as the actual structure and venue itself. You know, home of the Oakland A's now for more than 55 years. The place that's had the finger pointed at it and been blamed for the reason why fans don't show up, or it's the reason the A's say they can't generate enough revenue to spend on players and teams. And whether you believe any of that to be true or not, here's something I think we're all on the same page with. The place should have been renovated, redone, replaced several times over by now. There's no question it's way beyond its service life. It's completely outdated compared to what else is out there. But really, as most people focus on the venue and structure, let's go back to the land for just a second. It's amazing how nobody wants it. Nobody wants the Coliseum. It's the problem. It's the reason everything is going south, literally, to Las Vegas. But now the Coliseum site might be used as a hostage. And I hate to say it that way because this is not a life or death situation, but it does feel like several different parties are going to want to get their hands on the Coliseum site, but it's going to be a fight for actually who gets it and what happens there. Let's refresh you on everything. Number one, the Coliseum site is 120 acres, and as of right now, the city of Oakland owns 50%, and the A's own the other 50%. Now, the Joint Powers Authority, you may have heard of them before. They're the ones in charge of management and improvements of the property. They're the ones that would, offer a lease to a tenant, like the Oakland A's, for the years of 2025 and beyond. They're the ones that were put in charge by the city and the county, when they were half owner of it, to basically run the property with the stadium and with the arena. So that kind of sets the scene. But now let's go back to 2018, March of that year. This is a letter written by A's president Dave Kaval to then Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf. And what it's saying here is that the A's are offering to purchase the Coliseum site for $135 million. And as part of this, 6 or 7 paragraph letter, there's one part that just truly stands out. Quote, "It has become clear that the A's need to solidify control of the one site in Oakland that offers an assured path for the development of a new privately financed baseball venue, the existing Coliseum complex." The A's are saying, we're pushing for Howard Terminal in this letter, but just in case we don't get it done, it has become clear that the A's need to solidify this place, which offers an assured path for the development of a new privately financed baseball venue, the existing Coliseum complex in Oakland. That's why the A's pushed for buying this land from both the city and the county. They wanted both halves for the total of $135 million. Turns out in 2019, Alameda County sold their half to the A's for $85 million, an amount which the team is currently still paying for in installments, and we'll talk about that later. So Alameda County gives their half to the A's, but the city retains their half, which puts us in a really interesting predicament, as you're about to see here later on. This is from a couple days ago. A's owner John Fisher says, when asked about the Coliseum site and the future of it and what he'll want to do with his and their half of it, quote, "The reason that we acquired half of the Coliseum was because we believed strongly in the market of Oakland. It was not because we saw that, necessarily, as an alternative to Howard Terminal. I subscribed to the idea that if we were going to make this kind of investment in Oakland in the form of building a new stadium at Howard Terminal, it was a bet on the future success of Oakland." End quote. Now, just going back to the Dave Kaval letter from 2018, sure sounded like the main reason the A's wanted to buy the entire site, let alone the half that they ultimately ended up with, was to build a new stadium there, just in case. It was the backup option to Howard Terminal. Now here we are in the present, and it's being said something totally different. I mean, the letter is the letter. It's a document that has still existed, and there's no mincing the words there. They are what they are, and this is the quote from the other day. It was not because we saw that, quote, necessarily as an alternative, the Coliseum site, to Howard Terminal. A little bit of a change of tune there, at least in what's being said. Now, I use the word hostage later, but that's not my word. This is from the Los Angeles Times in an article that Bill Shakin wrote the other day. The headline says a column, John Fisher got his Vegas wish, as in Major League Baseball approving the relocation application. Will he now try to hold the Oakland Coliseum hostage? Let's dive into this article just a little bit here. The Oakland Coliseum, soon to be deserted by the Oakland Athletics, sits within an underdeveloped and overly industrial corridor within the city. Kevin Jenkins, the councilman who represents the area, would like to tell you a little bit about his district. Quote, "We lack a major grocery store," he said. "People need places to dine, places to shop, and places to gather. They need," Jenkins said, "somewhere they can go for entertainment and have great memories for their families here in their hometown." What they do not need turns out to be exactly what they have: a 120-acre site, vacated by the last of 3 major sports teams to play there, ripe for development, and controlled by the guy who is moving the A's to Las Vegas. John Fisher, who owns the A's, also owns a 50% stake in the Coliseum property. The city, as I've spelled out earlier, owns the other half. Quote, "We need to develop that site," Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao told Bill Shakin, not me. "I hope he doesn't hold it hostage." So there you go. The word hostage actually comes from the mayor, Sheng Tao. Then to the headline of the Los Angeles Times, and now here to this YouTube video. There is a potential gold mine in developing the Coliseum property. Should Fisher be striking it rich there, given at least the appearance that he would yank the A's out of Oakland, then develop the Coliseum property and use the profits to help pay for the ballpark? I asked Fisher whether he would commit to selling the land to the city of Oakland. He wouldn't say. He said he hasn't had the time to consider it. Fisher has paid $40 million towards the A's share of the Coliseum site, which, as I told you, was in installments, and he owes the remaining $45 million within 6 months of this past Thursday's relocation announcement. It's a lot of money pretty quickly. I mean, in the bigger scheme of things, it's not a grand total of money compared to $1.5 billion of a ballpark, but $45 million is like an Oakland A's payroll in a season that Mr. Fisher and the A's will owe to pay off the rest of their purchase. $45 million within 6 months of Thursday's relocation announcement. Alameda County, from whom Fisher bought his share in the land, should work with the city, this is what Bill is saying, to repay Fisher, cancel the remaining debt, and leave the city with 100% ownership of the land. Essentially, Bill is suggesting in this opinion piece that Oakland and or Alameda County, but specifically Oakland, maintain 100% possession and ownership of this land, and that the A's have none of it so that they cannot interfere with whatever comes next if and when once they depart. Said Jenkins, quote, "It is my intent to reach out to the A's and see what their intention is, and hopefully in a diplomatic way, we can get to a resolution that includes the land being produced back and developed into something people want." Said Tao, quote, "Of course the city would be very interested in having those conversations with John Fisher. We would definitely want to purchase that site if it is up for sale." I think that injustice is done when someone just sits on the property, especially on a piece of real estate that is deep in East Oakland, which is an underserved and overlooked community and has been for decades, end quote, says the mayor Sheng Tao. I asked Jenkins, the councilman, if Fisher needed to ensure the city reacquired the land. Quote, "I won't say he needs to. I would hope that he would want to." So the Coliseum is a huge bargaining piece right now. I mean, the A's, they want to leave there after 2024, like to go to Las Vegas, but they also want to stay there For 2025, 2026, and 2027, they need a home desperately. There's not a lot of great options out there. There are a lot of perks, including media revenue, to hang on to if they stay in Oakland for those years, but Oakland and the JPA are in control of what happens at that site, even though the A's own 50% of it. But what happens in the future down the road? When Oakland wants to develop it, but the A's own 50%, they could easily drag their feet on this project and on this site because they do technically own 50% of it. This is about to be a huge clash. And you can see it coming, and something is bound to happen here as it relates to a deal or some horse trading, as they say. It's a new term for me, horse trading. It's probably a really old term, but I've never used it until recently. Something's got to give here, but all of a sudden that place that we say is terrible and it's awful and it's one of the reasons this is happening, now all of a sudden Oakland wants all the Coliseum. The A's probably want to keep their part of the Coliseum. And just going back to one more time, going back to this. From 2018 to 2023, a matter of 5 years, we've gone from the A's basically saying this is the reason that we want to purchase this, and they got a heck of a deal, right? For $85 million, they get 50% of the site. That is a purchase price that is, in my view and my understanding, well below market value back then and even definitely still to this day. They got a deal because Alameda County wanted out. Alameda County probably saw this as doing a good deed to help keep the A's in Oakland. And then they didn't even use the site. Maybe now they'll use it against Oakland and Alameda County. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. Also, don't forget, subscribe to the channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.